So first, Sugar Sean O'Malley said that the UFC confirmed to him that he is 100% next for a title shot. But now we know that that's likely a bunch of cap, if Ali isn't capping here, because apparently, according to Ali Abdelaziz, Cejudo versus Sterling is a done deal. It's just the date is yet to be determined. So either one of these guys are full of it, O'Malley or Ali. But who knows? Ali could be telling the truth because he manages Henry Cejudo. I can actually see it being O'Malley as the one who's lying and not Ali. Or maybe he was telling the truth, but maybe Ali did a deal with the UFC and they changed their plans and now they're making Sterling versus Cejudo because honestly, that's a bigger fight than O'Malley versus Sterling. And it's far more competitive and a lot more interesting. Whereas Sterling versus O'Malley, I mean, we all know, anything can happen. O'Malley's dangerous. But on paper, Sterling should run through him. Whereas against Cejudo, there's a chance that Aljo could lose. I'm not saying he can't win that fight, but it's a tough challenge. It's a good challenge for the current champion, Aljamain Sterling, and it's a big fight in the sense that he's taking on Henry Cejudo, kind of this dominant fighter who never truly lost his belt. He just forfeited it through retirement. So I'm hoping that, yes, Cejudo versus Sterling is the next fight. I don't want to see O'Malley versus Sterling, nor do I think O'Malley should bench himself and wait for the winner. I think him and Chito Vera need to rematch and on the same card as Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo if this is all real news. Now, as far as the matchup now, if this does happen, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. Look, I'm not saying that I am counting out Aljamain Sterling. I'm not, okay? I've picked against him a few times now, and I've been wrong almost every time. I picked Corey Sandhagen to beat him back in the day. He surprised me and ran through him. I picked Petr Yan to beat him twice. On paper, I was kind of right the first time, but Yan gave it away. But the second time, Sterling came back and beat him. Close, controversial, but nonetheless, he got it done. He showed he was dangerous. He showed that he belonged there and that he is a worthy champion. And he's managed to keep this title after winning it in the most undeserved way possible. You know, in a true champ fashion, Aljo showed that despite winning by DQ, he still made his mark as one of the best guys in this division and that he is a worthy champion. And now, if Cejudo is next, he gets a worthy challenge. But stylistically, I got to favor Henry Cejudo to win this fight. He just stylistically counters a lot of what Aljamain Sterling does well. He has the style to neutralize what makes Aljamain Sterling so dangerous. Henry Cejudo is an Olympic level wrestler. Aljamain Sterling is what, a D3 wrestler? Now he's a good wrestler and he can take people down and he's dangerous on the ground and he's good at backpacking his opponents and then getting in that rear naked choke. Aljo is a threat on the ground and he's a threat with his takedowns, and that's what his opponents need to worry about. But against someone like Henry Cejudo, who has the takedown defense that he does from his wrestling background, that kind of cancels out Aljamain Sterling's offensive wrestling. So then he has to resort to his striking against Henry Cejudo. And Aljamain Sterling is not really the greatest striker in the world. He's an effective striker. He is a decent striker, but he's not really a good striker, if that makes sense. Or he is a good striker, but not a great striker. And in the stand-up, if you remove his takedown threat, Aljamain Sterling is very beatable on the feet. And Petr Yan, he showed that in the first fight. Not so much in the second fight because Aljo had a lot more success with his takedowns and back takes, leaving Petr Yan to be very worried about the takedowns and not striking the way he normally would. But in the first fight, when he was completely shutting out the takedowns of Aljamain Sterling, Aljo was kind of useless to Yan on the feet, and Aljo started getting picked apart as the rounds went on, as he started to slow down. And against someone like Henry Cejudo, I don't think Cejudo will be worried about the takedowns of Aljamain Sterling. He's so confident in his wrestling base that he can keep it standing if he so pleases to. And on the feet, I do believe that Henry Cejudo does have an advantage. Now, will he struggle on the feet with Aljamain Sterling? Yes, because Aljamain Sterling, he is fast, he has good footwork, he is elusive, and he does have the height and reach on Henry Cejudo. So Henry, as a shorter guy, he's got to get on the inside, and Aljamain is not the easiest guy in the world to hit. Aljo has very good defense, and Aljamain Sterling actually does well against shorter fighters. Although the shorter fighters that Sterling has picked apart, they are not Henry Cejudo. But Cejudo, he will have a hard time initially, but Henry Cejudo, I think he'll adapt. He'll figure Aljamain Sterling out the longer they're standing, much like Petr Yan. He will remove the takedown threat entirely, take his time, make his reads, chop away at the calves of Aljamain Sterling to slow down his footwork, and just put on that pressure. Keep that pressure on Aljamain Sterling. And Henry Cejudo has very effective pressure, and he's very good at cutting off the octagon, closing that space, cutting off or limiting your exiting options. And he's very fast at closing that distance and landing combinations. And he can land with some power and hurt Aljamain Sterling 100%, make him uncomfortable with that forward pressure, that constant pressure, and that could potentially initiate panic out of Aljamain Sterling if he's unable to get Cejudo's respect on the feet without being able to get the fight to the ground. You know, Henry Cejudo, for a guy with his height and stature, he's very good at controlling distance. You know, that's what makes him so dangerous. He manages distance better than anyone else Aljamain Sterling has ever fought. You know, he's good at keeping range despite being shorter, but he's good at also getting in range while being the shorter guy. And he makes it very hard to get away from him. He's good at catching you at the end of his combinations. And again, he's good at limiting your options of where you're going to exit, how you're going to circle away. He's very good at trapping guys. But Cejudo himself could take down Aljamain Sterling. I think Aljo would have a takedown threat he'd have to worry about against Henry Cejudo, especially the longer the fight goes and as Aljo starts to slow down from backing up constantly and failing takedowns. That's where Cejudo is going to shine, is the cardio department. I think Henry has a better gas tank than Aljamain Sterling. I think he has an advantage in the late rounds against Aljo, and I think he struggles early in the fight. Aljo has some success standing against Cejudo. Cejudo starts a little bit slow, but then as it goes on, Henry Cejudo is just going to get better. He's going to figure him out. He's going to start landing a lot more frequently on Aljamain Sterling and doing a lot more damage on Sterling. And once Sterling gets tired, he can take him down. And I think Sterling, with him being exhausted and sweaty, that eliminates the threat of Aljo's jiu-jitsu from bottom. And then Cejudo can have a lot of success from top position against Aljo and maybe even get a ground and pound finish. So this is a very bad matchup for Aljamain Sterling, but it does kind of benefit Aljo that he's been more active. Cejudo has not fought. By the time they do fight, it'll have been 3 years, and Cejudo's like 36 years old. He's getting older, so who knows if we're going to get the best Henry Cejudo. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that after 3 years on this layoff, it'll be like Henry Cejudo never left. And if that's the case, Aljo's in trouble. Because styles make matchups, and stylistically, a prime Henry Cejudo is not good for Aljamain Sterling. There are paths to victory for Aljo, though. If his ground game is not an option, he could potentially win if he's able to keep the distance, keep Henry on his heels, but keep him at the end of his range, not let Henry get close, and just pick at him from a distance and just make it boring, you know, make it a boring points fight for 5 rounds. He might be able to just barely outpoint Henry Cejudo and, you know, evade big shots, touch and go. that is a path to victory for him, but it's easier said than done. And I don't know if he can just stick and move from Henry Cejudo's pressure for all 5 rounds. He's gotta somehow hold off that pressure. But if he can't, he's not winning because he's not getting the fight to the ground and he's not submitting Cejudo, which this could age horribly. Maybe he will, but I doubt it. But I hope this matchup happens. I hope it's true. And if it is, I'm looking forward to it. Let me know your thoughts on this matchup in the comment section down below. Who do you see winning? Triple C or the Funk Master? Like and subscribe, and peace out.